have like a basic understanding of exponents, hopefully. We're going to be multiplying exponents today. So you're going to be doing operations with exponents. So make sure that your notes are all set up. All right, let's get started. Okay, I feel like the best way to learn how to do this is just to jump right in. So we're going to start with an example, okay? And then we'll add some notes in as we go through. So problems that we're looking at today are when you have a power times a power, okay? And to start out with, what we're going to do is we're going to write this out in expanded form, and we'll take a look at it from there. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. Okay? So I'm going to start with this first portion here. It's 2 to the third power. So I'm going to do 2 times 2 times 2. Yeah. We'll get to the answer checker in a minute, because first you guys need to know what we're doing. Okay, now we're going to look at the second portion here, which is 2 to the fifth power, and we're multiplying. So I'm going to put my multiplication symbol, and then this is happening 5 times. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And that's for that second portion right there. So question for you, if we were going to then take this whole thing and write it in exponent notation, what would it be? Yeah. 2 to the what? Yeah, 2 to the 8th power. I'm going to have you guys try one. Try that. Write it in expanded notation first, and then collapse it back down into exponent notation. Okay, what did you get? X to the? Fabulous. Okay, so we had our 2 x's for the first one and then 6 x's for the second one. Okay, now if we didn't want to do all this work in the middle and we just wanted to go from this to this, how could you do that? What's happening there? Macy.
If it's the same, I forgot what's called, like,
Same.
All
right. How rude, that bell. Okay, so what Macy said is she said, if the bases are the same, then all you have to do is add the exponents. And if we take a look here, you can see that we had 3 2's for the first one and 5 2's for the second one. Altogether, that was 8 2's being multiplied together. So yeah, you can. Let's add a little note here. we can add the exponents if the bases are the same. So for that first one, 3 plus 5 equals 8. So if we just added those exponents here and here, we get the exponent on our final product. Okay, now what I want to do now is I want to go through a few examples that you're going to see in your homework, because of course it doesn't stop there. It gets a little more challenging. So I want to make sure you're exposed to everything that you're going to see on your homework tonight. Okay. So let's start with this one. 4 times 4 to the 5th power. Okay. So for the sake of this one, I'm actually gonna write it out in expanded notation so you can see what's happening here. We have 1 4 here, so 4. And then for this 4 to the 5th power, we're gonna multiply 4 together 5 times. So this right here was that first part, and this is the second part. So it's important to know that if you have a base with no exponent, the exponent is always 1. Okay? So if it doesn't have an exponent, you can just put a little 1 there to hold that place. So when you're going from here, and let's say that you want to skip expanded notation here, then you would just have to say, well, this has an imaginary 1 on it, and 1 plus 5 is 6, so this would be 4 to the 6th. Everybody follow me so far? Okay, let's look at this a little more abstractly, and let's see if somebody in here can get this. So let's say we have x to the a times x to the b. What is our exponent going to be? Think about it for just a second. If this is x to the a times x to the b, it's going to be x to the
A,
b. See? Oh, I heard a key over here. What was it? A lot of people said AB. But remember, AB is multiplication. What needs to go in there? No, there's no C's. Kayla. That is correct. That's another reason. What?
He said he didn't know.
I heard it. Add. Who said that? Yes. And you did too, right? Okay. When we did it up here, we added the exponents. So up here, A plus B. It's basically saying that whatever A is and whatever B is, we're going to add them together to get that exponent. A little abstract, right? Now, if you had just put AB there, that wouldn't be correct because we don't multiply the exponents, we add them. Okay, let's take a look at another type of problem that you're going to see on the homework tonight. Let's do, sorry, I started writing the wrong problem down. Okay, so let's do negative 5 to the 3rd power times negative 5 to the 4th power. Now, for the sake of just seeing what it looks like, I'm going to write this in expanded notation for you. Okay. Well, when this whole thing is in parentheses, the whole thing is repeating. So this is going to be negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. And then this one, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what's the power on this going to be?
8 or 7, 7, 7.
And we need to make sure that our base looks exactly like these bases, because that whole thing, negative 5, is repeating. Yeah, Jordan.
Is that how we would write it in the homework? Like when we have to write in expanded form, is that how we would write it?
You're not going to write it in expanded form on the homework. You're going to write it like this. So for this problem right here, it would be parentheses, negative 5, parentheses, caret 7. Okay? Let's do another example of something you're going to see on the homework. Let's do x squared, y to the third, times x, times y to the second. Okay, so when I'm going to write this in expanded form to expose what's going on here. And let me just tell you, you guys are always welcome to write these in expanded form if it helps you to make sure that you don't make an error. Okay? So when I do this, this is going to be x times x. It's happening twice. And then y to the third, so y times y times y times x. And then y times y for y to the second. So that's what it looks like in expanded form. Does everybody understand why the x didn't repeat? It's not in parentheses with the y. So the squared symbol on the y, it only counts towards the y because it's not in parentheses. Okay? So the x is only happening one time. And now when I go back through and I collect all of my x's and all of y y's, I have 1, 2, 3 x's, so x to the third, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 y's, y to the fifth. And if I was going to skip all of the middle stuff, I would need to remember that if I have a variable without an exponent on it, there's an imaginary 1 there. Okay? So my x to the third, this is x to the second, x to the first. So 2 plus 1 is 3. And then if I look at my y's, y to the third, y to the second. 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay. One more example. You trust me, you want me to do this because you don't want to be at home and see a problem like this and not know what to do. Okay, it looks like there's a lot going on there, right? We have m to the third power 8 times m to the third power 3 times n to the fourth power times m times n squared. Okay? Now I want to point out some important things here. The power of 3 is only applied to the m, not to the 8, because it is not in parentheses. Same thing with your 3 here. The n is the only thing that's affected by that exponent of 4. And the m doesn't have an exponent on it, so what's that exponent? 1. So this has an imaginary 1 there. Okay? So when I write this in expanded notation, I'm going to do 8 times m times m times m times 3 times n times n times n times n times m times n times n. It's a lot, right? But does that make sense how I wrote it out so far? I know. I shouldn't have done so many m's and n's. They all sound the same. Okay? So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to go through and we're going to multiply our 8 and our 3 together because those don't have exponents, so we can simplify that. 8 times 3 is 24. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to collect all of my m's. So 1, 2, 3, 4 m's. And now I'm going to go through and collect my n's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there you have it. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys get your work on your homework for the rest of the class. I'm going to walk around and help you. Trent. 8 times 3 is 24. Good question. Megan. As long as nobody else can hear it. So earbuds or headphones.